All right, ready for a deep dive.
Always. What are we getting into today?
We're talking about something you probably use every day in the kitchen, but might not know much about. Bamboo cutting boards.
Oh, interesting choice. What got you thinking about bamboo cutting boards?
Well, to be honest, I was surprised to learn that bamboo isn't even wood. I always thought it was some kind of exotic hardwood, but it turns out it's actually a grass.
It is pretty remarkable, isn't it? It's like this whole other category. I mean, we think of grass as being, pretty delicate, but bamboo is crazy strong and resilient for being a grass, right? And when you think about the qualities you want in a cutting board, well, that strength and resilience definitely come in handy.
That makes sense. So since bamboo is a grass, that means it grows super fast, right?
Yeah. And that's a big part of why everyone's so excited about bamboo being a sustainable choice. We're talking some species shooting up like 3 feet per day.
Wow, that's incredible. 3 feet a day. No wonder you don't have to wait decades for it to mature like you do with trees.
Exactly. Think about a hardwood forest, how long those trees take to grow before you can even consider harvesting them. Now picture a bamboo forest. You're harvesting way more frequently without decimating the landscape. Huge win for the planet.
Okay, so that's one point for Team Bamboo sustainability.
Yeah.
But what about performance? Will it hold up in the kitchen?
That's the thing about bamboo. It's not just about being eco-friendly. It can actually go toe-to-toe with the heavy hitters in terms of durability.
Really? Like even compared to something like maple?
Oh, yeah. Maple is known for being tough, but bamboo is often even harder, and that's a big deal when it comes to cutting boards.
Because of those grooves you get from knives.
Exactly. Those grooves are more than just cosmetic. They're like little havens for bacteria.
Oh, that's a good point. So the harder the surface, the fewer places bacteria have to hide. Didn't even think about that.
And that's where bamboo's natural properties really shine. It's giving you that extra layer of defense against bacteria, especially compared to something like a plastic cutting board.
Speaking of bacteria, I've heard some buzz about bamboo having antibacterial properties. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, actually, there is. Bamboo contains natural antimicrobial agents. Now, this isn't a free pass to skip washing your cutting board. It's not like a magic shield against all bacteria.
Well, right, of course not. But every little bit helps, right?
Exactly. Every bit helps. And it's definitely a nice bonus, especially compared to those plastic boards where bacteria can really have a field day in all those knife marks.
So bamboo's got this whole antibacterial thing going on, which is cool.
Yeah.
But what about my knives?
What about them?
I've always heard that bamboo cutting boards can dull your knives super fast. Is that true?
That's actually a myth. Plastic cutting boards are the real culprits when it comes to dull knives.
Really? But plastic seems so much softer than bamboo.
It's counterintuitive, but plastic is actually harder. It's all about the material properties. When you're constantly hitting a hard surface, your knife edge is going to wear down much faster.
Oh, that makes sense. So bamboo's got a bit more give. Easier on the blades.
Exactly. Bamboo's a surprisingly good friend to your knives. And a sharp knife is a safe knife. That's something we can delve into a bit later.
Okay, good to know. So it's sustainable, it's durable, it's good for my knives, but it's also more expensive. Right.
That's true. You might pay a bit more upfront for a bamboo cutting board, but think of it as an investment rather than just a purchase.
How so?
Well, remember how we talked about bamboo being so durable? That translates into a longer lifespan. Think about how many cheap plastic cutting boards you've gone through over the years.
Oh, I know. Too many. They end up warped or all scratched up, and then they just end up in the trash.
Yep, and that's the thing. A well-maintained bamboo board can last for years, maybe even decades. So in the long run, you might actually save money and reduce waste.
Okay, that's a good point. I'm all about reducing waste.
Yeah.
Speaking of maintenance, I remember reading something about oiling bamboo cutting boards. Is that really necessary?
Absolutely. It's super important to oil your bamboo cutting board.
But why? Bamboo's water resistant, right? Why does it need all that oil?
You're right. Bamboo is naturally water resistant, but even the toughest materials need a little TLC. Oiling your cutting board helps to seal in moisture, preventing it from drying out and cracking.
Okay, so it's like a preventative measure. What kind of oil am I supposed to use? Could I just grab whatever's in the pantry?
Not exactly. You want to stick with food-grade mineral oil or beeswax.
Why those specifically?
Well, first off, they're safe for food contact, which is pretty important for something you're prepping food on. And second, they won't go rancid, so you don't have to worry about your cutting board smelling funky.
Makes sense. So I've got my food-grade mineral oil. I'm guessing I don't just slather it on.
Less is more in this case. A thin, even coat is all you need. Let it soak in for a bit, then wipe off any
So
excess.
like a spa treatment for my cutting board.
Exactly. Pampered, not greasy. That's what we're going for.
All right, so I've got my pampered, not greasy bamboo cutting board ready to go. But it got me thinking back to something you said earlier about those grooves in cutting boards and how they can harbor bacteria.
Yeah, those tiny crevices can be a real issue.
It made me realize we've been talking a lot about the cutting board itself, but what about the knife? Does how sharp my knife is actually make a difference when it comes to bacteria?
Absolutely does. You see, a dull knife, it doesn't really cut through food cleanly. It's more like it's crushing and tearing its way through.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So instead of a nice clean cut, you're basically just smashing everything together.
Exactly. And that's a problem for a couple of reasons. First, all that crushing action, it forces out more of the food's juices, those internal fluids, which, guess what, bacteria love.
It's like you're setting up a buffet for them.
Exactly. And to make matters worse, those ragged cuts from a dull knife create all these little nooks and crannies where food particles can get trapped. Perfect hiding spots for bacteria to multiply.
So even if I'm diligently cleaning my cutting board, a dull knife could be undermining all that effort.
It's all connected. A sharp knife makes a world of difference.
It's funny how we don't always think about those connections. We focus so much on the cutting board itself that we forget the knife plays a huge role too.
It's like anything else, right? The more you learn, the more you realize how much there is to consider.
Totally. So to sum it all up, we've got these bamboo cutting boards. They're sustainable, they're durable, they're easy on our knives, and they even play a part in keeping our food safer.
It's about making conscious choices in the kitchen, right? Choices that benefit us, our wallets, and the planet.
Absolutely. Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. Learned a lot.
Me too. Always fun to chat about all things kitchen.
And listeners, we hope you learned a thing or two as well. Now go forth and chop safely, sustainably, and with a nice sharp knife.
At nourishingtapestry.store we have a large range of bamboo cutting boards. Thanks for watching. Check us out at nourishingtapestry.store. Like, subscribe.